Okay, so Jake, you are back January 27th in Newcastle. I've spoken to a couple of the other guys that are on this card and about how good I think it is that Oktagon are keeping you guys busy, like not only to come off the challenge series, where of course a big opportunity there, but to keep you busy and also the run of UK events to come straight back into it. Another thing that I always seem to talk about with next gen fighters is the influence of having the likes of Paddy and Molly in the gym, right? I mentioned this with every next gen fighter that I speak to pretty much about how great that is to have those two role models who both big stars, but both incredibly down to earth people. However, this relationship, this friendship that you have with Molly, first question, why does she call you a goth? Because I saw this earlier. I was like, I need to mention this because it's hilarious for a start. But I was also like, I need to know the root of this.
Just because I'm a bit of a goth, she's a bit of a Johnnet. Yeah, it's the type of music I like and the way I dress. She calls me a goth. I guess I am a bit of a goth, but yeah, there's no deep meaning there. I'm just a bit of a goth.
Right, okay. I didn't know if it was something you were like, yeah, I'm happy to acknowledge it, or whether it was Molly just giving you that nickname and it stuck from the start. Um, am I right in thinking that you guys had a trip out to America together, where it was like where you guys became close friends, and obviously, it's a friendship that you're both going to benefit for years to come from that. So obviously, it's a great thing to have. But yeah, how did that initially come around?
Yeah, so I was Liam McCall's main training partner for a fight against for a fight against Kat Zingano. So she took me out there to be a training partner for like a week while she was getting ready to fight. So she had someone her size to like chuck about everywhere, and obviously Molly's always in her corner or has been in her corner. So Molly was there, and then we'd obviously knew each other from the gym, but we'd never really properly spoken that much before. And then we just got close over the trip where like we were together every day. We were running about doing just normal stuff together, and we just got talking and found out we actually had quite a bit in common. And that's, you know what I mean? That's how people become friends.
How long had you been at Next Gen at that point?
So I've actually been at Next Gen for um how old was I? So I was like 20, like 22. So quick maths, like 7 or 8 years. But there's two Next Gens that Paul Rimmer owns. So there's the Liverpool one and the Wirral one. When I was a teenager and I was just doing jiu-jitsu, I mainly trained I only really trained at the Wirral one. So I never really saw any of the Liverpool guys. To be honest, to be honest, never saw any of the Liverpool guys. To be honest, it was only when I was like 19, 20, and started doing MMA properly that I was training at Liverpool all the time and seeing all these
Right.
fighters.
Was it weird for the challenge series to be on? I know that you weren't competing against them, so it's not as weird, but to be on the opposite team to Shem, was that weird? Because I feel like I mean it wasn't like, you were too competitive with the other coaches, right? Because they're all,
Yeah.
like of course you're gonna be respectful to them and they're gonna be respectful to you. But it still must have been strange to be competing against your teammate in a way.
Like initially, I thought it was going to be a bit weird, but it just wasn't. To be honest, me and him had a good time out there. Obviously, apart from the result, I had the boss time. Like it was a boss experience, boss time, and me and him had a good little time out there. So yeah, it wasn't that weird to be honest.
Obviously,
Unfortunately,
the uh the series obviously plays directly into this fight because of the fact that you are rematching Armand Herczeg, who you fought in the first round of the tournament. I can't even imagine how frustrating it is, because a regular fight, you're going to get people that are excited for you, and when you don't get the result that you want, people are going to be gutted for you. But the challenge series, of course, such a big opportunity. I'm sure it was very difficult because, like you said, you had a great time apart from the result. But I'm sure it's difficult to be in that scenario and hang around the house and just try and focus on getting the most out of it when you're coming off of a loss where you're like, most people when they suffer a loss in MMA, it tend to go away, be a bit private for a while and stuff like that. And here you are, TV cameras around you and stuff like that. How was that experience? And do you feel like you were still able to get the most out of the training and like put that to the back of your mind?
yeah. So that was one of the hardest things about the whole. the whole experience, to be honest, was like even when we were training, either the next, well, I wasn't really training because we back, but when we were like, when I was watching the others train or when I was like doing little bits where I could, we were training in the cage where I just lost. And that was quite obviously hard. And then you had all the Irish just being weird. And I just wanted to go in on myself and not speak to anyone. But obviously I wasn't able to do that. They made me dress up like a knight the next day and throw fruit stuff. So I was just like, not really wanting to be there for a little bit. But yeah, it was quite hard, but that's just one of the things that I'm grateful for the experience for having to go through that. It builds a little bit of mental resilience, mental toughness, having to like go through something horrific like that and then having to pick yourself up and be a real human being in front of people.
Yeah. I spoke to Dennis the other day, and I was saying about how great I think it is that all of you guys were matched up against each other, where, you know, instead of putting some exciting prospects and putting them on separate routes so that you don't have them encounter each other too early in their careers, you've got them meeting each other, obviously in the case of George and Dennis in the finals. But I think that you can see that again in the fact that you're facing Armand again. And obviously I know that the first one isn't on your pro record or anything like that, but you know, I'm sure that this is the fight that you would have wanted to get back fairly soon anyway. I think that it's fair play to Oktagon for doing that instead of being like, you guys already fought, you don't need to fight each other again and kind of jeopardize your own trajectories, just go your separate ways. It would have been very easy for them to do that and go, the past is the past. But, you know, I'm sure for you, it's obviously an incredible opportunity to try and correct what happened the first time around, correct some of those mistakes and then advance from it.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like that is a really good way of looking at it, to be honest. But I think Octagon just like beef, to be honest. they
Right.
like
Okay.
they just like arguments and and big things for media. That's nothing against them. That's how they built their business, and
Yeah.
it's doing really really well. But yeah, they love it. If after this fight, me and him started beefing it again, they would probably do another one, to be honest. But it was definitely the fight I wanted, and it's not like I know it doesn't like you said, it doesn't go down on a pro or amateur record or anything, but it's still a loss. He still won. I would never like, not that I wouldn't take it away from him, but I still feel that as a loss, whether it's on the record or not. So it's about, said this before to someone where it's not like I've got nothing against him. It's not revenge. It's just for myself to prove to myself that I know it was just a bad day. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like from people who follow you on social media, that was the vibe that I got from you anyway. It just seemed like
Yeah.
whenever someone mentioned the fight or whenever you spoke about yourself, it was very much like, I need to go do this so I can correct the mistakes that I made the first time around and get this win. You mentioned the fact that Octagon do love a little bit of fight beef, like
Yeah.
some of the stuff that they do repost on their social media, I think is really funny. They got some good characters on the roster, but you did mention it briefly then about not having any, you know, bad blood with Armand himself. How was it being around him in the house after the loss? Like was everything cool between you guys? It was hard to get a sense of some of that stuff on the show because you had characters like Dennis who are so vocal that it was like, I don't know how you guys were with each other. I know how everybody was with Dennis, but I don't know how I don't know how other people were with each other, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So I think there was a bit of like, especially straight after the fight, I think Armand's like head got a little bit big, and then he was like being quite cocky, which is fair enough. He's just won, and fair play. I like he was living his moments. Do you know what I mean? And got nothing against that. So there was a little bit of like tension, a little bit. Sorry, that was a cat. There was a little bit of tension and a little bit of like him giving me a little bit of grief, but again, that was just because he was obviously really happy with himself, which is fair enough. But after that little like thing we had in the studio, there was nothing against us. We were fine together. And then when I come off the show, he was putting loads of mad stuff on his story, but I think he's just trying to be funny. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, like you said, Octagon love it. We got the rematch, which I'm sure that you don't really care how, what the reason they want to make it is. They've made the
Yeah.
fight, so that's what matters the most. I haven't asked. I've interviewed now both Dennis and George after doing the series, and I haven't asked them this, but would you do it again? Because for those guys that made it to the final, the two guys I've spoken to in the past, like I can understand why they would be a bit like been there, done that. And I'm sure it's the same for you because you've been through the training involved, but you didn't get to showcase, that was the big thing for you was like, I didn't really get to showcase what I can actually do. So if they offered it, would you ever do it again? Or is it a bit like, I've been through that. I've learned my lessons from that. I don't need to do
it. Like from the position where I am now, I probably wouldn't do it again. But if I went back and with like knowing what would happen, I would
it.
do it
Right.
again. Makes sense. So like
Yeah.
right now, it wouldn't really do anything for my career to go do it again. But it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I got to like do loads and loads of cool stuff. Got to go be in a different country. Got to go fight in a different country. Got to go like get loads of really good experience in front of the camera and meet amazing people and become part of the Octagon team. So it was an experience that I will always be grateful for. But like if they asked me to go spend another 3 weeks in Slovakia with a bunch of people that I didn't really want to be there with, probably not. Nah.
Yeah, that makes sense when you say it like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
um, that is just about it, mate. So thank you for your time. Good luck
No
for the
worries.
fight, and yeah, we'll catch up with you soon, hopefully. And yeah, good times. So thank you, and yeah, see you later, mate. Have a
Thanks
good
for
rest
having
of
me
your
on.
day.
Will do.
Cool, nice one. Cheers, man.